What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2. And well, as y'all know, it is Wednesday, which means a new summon is now live here on the game, which is going to be the Cities Championship. I would actually say this summit is most likely going to be on the Rage Enforcing side. But before we jump into that, though, guys, we have the Fame Magnet boosted for the Alpha GP class. I would probably say that's going to be one of the better Platinum part sets we have seen. And then in gold, we have a Dark Blue Nitro, which is going to be, dark blue. And then in silver, we have a Chevrolet Camaro SS, which I would say a lot of players most likely have this car. And if you guys do, you will luckily get some money back for that thing, so that's always going to be a plus. But moving over to the next summit, though, is going to be the Brits. This has the TVR Griffith Peppermint Edition. I do like the way this car does look. Funnily enough, I do not remember the last time I saw someone driving this car, so it's most likely going to be insanely rare, and or a lot of players just don't like driving it. I will definitely take a look at this car when it does come back there in a couple of weeks. But in gold, guys, we have the Union Jack tire, which is definitely going to match the Griffith 100% to a T. And then in silver, we have a second part to the touring car class for a Loot Digger set. And jumping right into this one here, guys, you'll notice you do get to drive the car in this event. We also have two different touring car races and or a street race as well. You also get to drive a Noble M500 for a hypercar, so that's going to be a fun one for that matter. Luckily, there's no escapes though. I really do think that's always going to be a plus. But moving over to the next summit, the United States East Speed Tour is going to have the USST band tire. I would say that one's going to look pretty awesome, at least for being a platinum tire, even though that tire is going to be common, which is kind of unfortunate. But in gold, we have a legendary half set boosted for the Rallycross class. This set looks like it's going to have pure and or drifty, so I would say that's going to be a very viable set, especially for a Rallycross car. And then moving over to the next summit, guys, is going to be the last summit until Motorfest, which is honestly kind of insane. I really do feel like time is going insanely fast, but it's going to be Hypercar's Glory. And I would say the Proto Lucky One Marble Edition is definitely going to be a car I did not expect. Funnily enough, this thing has a crazy looking kit, plus look at those rims. I do know the regular Proto Lucky One's actually a very underrated hypercar. That thing was also in one of the Motor Passes a long time ago, so seeing the Proto Lucky One make a return as one of the Platinum Summit cars is honestly pretty awesome. I really can't wait to see how this car does actually perform, and I have to admit, guys, that kit is looking pretty dang awesome. So moving over to the summit here, guys, starting off with the Slalom. So for this one, I once again use the Vector V40R. I would probably say you can easily run something like a 1414 Demon. This one is going to be kind of open, so you really can run basically any of the power boats. To be honest, I would say the Vector is going to be great for its handling, but the 1414 Demon is by far going to be great for its speed, so I guess they kind of offset each other in the ways that they are very similar. But now moving over to the next skill is going to be an off-road escape, which you know what that means, guys. You have to use a hypercar on this one because that makes a lot of sense. Said no one ever, but luckily, guys, you don't have to get a crazy score. I did manage to get a little over 8,000 yards on this, guys, using the Koenigsegg Regera. I still got 155,000 points, so you don't have to be absolutely insane on this one. I would honestly recommend going for around 7,000 plus yards, and you will easily be over like 148,000 plus points, so you luckily don't have to be too insane on this one. The biggest thing though is definitely watch out for the trees. They are absolutely everywhere in this one, but moving over to the next skill is luckily going to be a low altitude. I really do find these to be insanely simple to do, so all I really did on this one, guys, is once I started off, I basically went right on the river and pretty much followed this all the way till the end when the timer did run out. Do keep in mind, guys, you can definitely run into the bridges on this one, so do be careful. But I really do love how easy these low altitudes actually are. And luckily, the air race planes are by far going to be the best options. But obviously, guys, this is going to be the city's championship, so every event is going to be mixed into one of the lovely city's USB Tour races. Now, 4 of these are going to be no restriction, so I actually decided to run the exact same Alpha GP car, which is the Red Bull RB13, and I would probably say it's most likely not going to be like the best option because the Proto Alpha Mark II, even to this day, is by far going to be like one of the best Alpha GP cars, so that is by far probably going to be like the best overall Alpha GP car, at least at the moment. that could change in the future, but the Proto Mark II really is going to be insanely good. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, you can easily run other Alpha GP cars, like the Red Bull RB13 did insanely well. Is it going to be like the best car to use on these? Most likely not, but it really did do pretty dang good for the most part. Now, do keep in mind, though, on most of these events, a lot of the track is going to be kind of tight with a lot of corners, so I would recommend being careful around those corners because it is hard not to go fast on the straightaways, and I did find myself slowing down way too much in certain turns and or basically downshifting when I shouldn't have. So I would recommend being slightly careful on these, but that's most likely going to take some time to get used to with a lot of these races. And the fact that many of the Alpha GP cars don't even belong in these events as well probably does tell you something. And I would say a lot of these cars are most likely going to be way too dang big for these races. Like the YasidDesign X American Petrol, which by the way, guys, stay tuned for Friday. I am doing a video on this car, and the day after, I'm also doing the Expo R. I am glad to see these cars being back into this game now for bucks, but I have to admit one thing, the YasidDesign X is not going to be the greatest car out there. I also mentioned this in the video I am posting on Friday, like it's fun to use, but it's definitely not going to be the fastest Alpha GP car in this game, basically by no means at all. And I would say it does handle pretty nice, but of course it is going to be a US Speed Tour race, so there's so many dang tight corners that a lot of these cars do tend to struggle. Luckily, the Expo R is going to be the smallest Alpha GP vehicle besides the other Expo. Obviously, this one is going to be the Spear Racing, but the KTM is still going to be a decent car for the most part, but I have to admit one thing, guys. After that handling update, this thing is definitely not the best Alpha GP car anymore. Like, to be honest, it's not even close. And I would probably say they most likely did that on purpose because the Expo R was by far like the best Alpha GP car for basically a long time. So it is going to be nice to see a different mix in the meta, but I will go over more of that in the video on Saturday for this car. But overall, though, guys, I do think this summit was fun. Don't get me wrong, though, a lot of these events definitely can be rage enforcing, so I would recommend taking your time on these races. And if you guys have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And of course, guys, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more insight.